prone restraint should be banned. Student said was prone restraint should be banned. And I was like, why is that? Because people die from it. What are your thoughts just simply on them two statements?
Definitely can't be banned. Definitely not appropriate probably in an elderly setting. Highly unlikely to be appropriate or necessary, but absolutely can't be banned. No technique can be banned. It'd be dangerous to ban a technique. Does it provide or offer an element of heightened risk for the person being held? Yes, there's obviously evidence.
But you could argue that about other types of restraint, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You know, you could argue that about chemical restraint.
Yeah.
You could argue that about somebody using a taser.
Yeah.
There's increased risk from it.
Absolutely. But it can't be banned, can it?
No, it can't be banned. No, it's been proven over the years, actually, that in some circumstances, it is absolutely necessary to use.
100%. And we've got to say, don't we, is that, you know, if we look at, you know, medical risks of holding somebody, or even, let's say, holding somebody on the floor, the process of bringing someone to the floor or them bringing us to the floor, whilst we want them to be on their back, ideally, you know, in the best case scenario, that they're on their back in a supine position so that they can breathe and their face up, the actual process of going down, there's more risk of injury going down backwards, of head injury, than going down front way. So interestingly, sort of clinicians would generally say it's safer for someone to go down forwards, as in to end up in the prone position, but I guess once they're on the floor or on the bed, it's better to move them into the supine position so they can breathe more easily and we can see them and communicate and can observe them better.
Yeah, but then, you know, you've got to think about, haven't you, that transition from prone to supine. How do you turn them over? Because either you've got to use physical intervention, use force to turn them over, or you've got to completely disengage, hoping that they'll turn over, and then potentially re-engage if they're still enacting that high-risk behaviour, or they're trying to escape, or they're trying to cause somebody harm. So there's no right or wrong answer with that, is there? Really, it's about what is actually happening in that moment. And, you know, like you said, you know, it might not be that we choose to take them to the floor. They initiate downward motion, and we can't sustain them on their feet. It might be, and you'll have experienced this operationally, the first 5 to 10 seconds of that intervention, it might be a planned intervention, but it's an absolute melee. And in that chaos, for want of a better term, everybody just ends up in a big heap on the floor.
And we've got to be realistic as well, don't we? That, you know, not necessarily, obviously not talking about a number of settings, you know, things like a school or, you know, a unit supporting people living with dementia or things like that. But if we're saying, let's say, prison service, the nighttime economy, A&Es, high secure mental health units.
The police arresting people.
Police, they will always generally adopt face down prone positions because it takes less staff to manage the person in that position. Because we've got to be realistic, don't we? That if you and, say, your colleague want to hold me, and it's just two of you, and I try and drag you both to the floor, you're going to be able to control me more safely for yourself, at least, with me in the prone position. That might not be the safest thing for me, but it's definitely the safest for you both. But we've then got to also say, don't we, that if I'm on my back or in the supine position, it's going to take a minimum of 4 people, isn't it, if not more, to keep me in that position. So operationally, is it always feasible in every setting, every environment? Probably not.
Probably not. No. And actually, you know, it comes down to the training, doesn't it? Because any physical intervention carries risk.
Yeah.
You know, you could be sat holding somebody. I try to escape and I lean forward because nobody can stand straight up. So I try to escape forward. The staff hold me here like this. And now, you know, my chest is impacted, I can't expand and contract as it does, my diaphragm can't move.
Yeah.
Staff are applying pressure to me, so the risk is increasing there.
Absolutely.
Somebody could be laid in the supine position, face up,
Someone lying across them.
across the chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, it might be the space that we're in where this is happening. I don't mean to lie on the chest, I'm laying on the arm, but because of my, sheer body volume or because of the confines of the space, I'm inadvertently putting pressure on the chest. So it could be, like anything, as long as the training is done right and we think about appropriate selection of skills or techniques or what we can actually do in that setting, that's the only thing available to us.
Absolutely.